So the ammunition we're using today is Federal 12 gauge, 2 3/4. This is our game load. It's got the 8 shot, so we'll be using this. Pretty plentiful. All right, guys. So for this video, we're going to be putting the Mossberg 590 Shockwave to the test. Of course, the biggest reason why people buy this firearm is for home defense. So in this video, we're going to try and simulate a close quarter situation. I know we're in the woods, but I'll try and simulate it as in we're in like a really restricted room, not so restricted room, and then if you're in ideal conditions. So for example, ideal conditions where it's out in the open, you have a clear line of sight, you know, everything's perfect for you to make that shot. And then we'll move into some not so ideal conditions. So the terrain will get a little restricted, it'll get a little darker, the target will be obscured a little bit. So we'll try that. We have some buckshot, and we also have some stuffed animals courtesy of my daughter who's outgrowing them. So we'll use those as targets, and we'll see how the Mossberg 590 Shockwave performs in those conditions. All right, guys, so I'll show you real quick. This is the terrain we're going to be using for those ideal conditions. So in this scenario, we're not going to have a misfire with our firearm. We have a clear line of sight on the target. We have a large reactionary gap to that target, so we're not going to have to react as fast. So here, obviously, the terrain is pretty open. So in this scenario, you should be performing your best. Okay, so here we have our targets. As you can see, they're out in the open. They're easily visible. I will be engaging until the targets are destroyed. So we'll see how many shots it takes under these ideal conditions. So as you guys can tell, it did take 7 shots. So you can see the damage is pretty decent on these stuffed animals. However, in home defense scenario, I'd want as much lethality in a short period of time, and preferably with no reloads. So at this distance, while it is very open and unrestricted, the lethality is a little bit questionable if we're talking about, you know, a human being. Of course, you will incapacitate them, but I would prefer lethality to be the #1 priority in that scenario. All right, guys, so here we're moving into our less than ideal condition. So as you can see, I'll be shooting from this tree, and the targets are right here in these little branches, and right here behind this branch over here. So as you can tell, it's a little bit darker. They're a little bit better. They're slightly better concealed. And of course, the short distance is going to make it a little bit harder to get that reactionary gap. Now, we don't have charging targets or anything, but just imagine if someone was this close to you, it would make you pretty uncomfortable if you're firing from a distance like this. All right, guys, so I can tell you right now, pretty much those first round effects were extremely lethal. So we have stuffing. There's stuffing that pretty much goes all the way back here. And this dude was over here, and now he's all the way over here. Obviously, you can see with some pellet holes in there. So, less than ideal terrain. That being a little bit darker, a little bit closer, less reactionary gap. It is a little bit unsafer for you having them this close. However, for home defense, I would feel very comfortable using the Shockwave at a range such as this. I'd say right now this is about 8 meters. So a range of 8 meters, very ideal for the Shockwave. Okay, guys, so as you know, of course, it is a very short weapon, the Shockwave. It's very easy to come around corners, punch it out. You know, you can even come around a corner like this, and you don't have to worry about the long barrel or the stock getting in the way too much. However, in very close quarters, it may not be ideal to punch the Shockwave out, mainly to create that reactionary gap. If you have a little bit of reactionary gap, you want to keep that at all times. You want to keep as much standoff from that intruder, from them to you, and also them to your weapon. So if they're within arm's reach of your weapon, if they have nothing or if they're just jumpy, they might grab out, take your weapon. If you don't have a sling, that's gonna be a very bad day for you. So you can, in certain scenarios, index that weapon. So keep it nice and tight, close to you, sort of like chicken wing it almost. So you wanna have it almost under your arm, tucked like this. So this will allow you to increase your reactionary gap as well as just drive your barrel to wherever that intruder is. It is a shotgun. Of course, you always wanna be as accurate as possible, especially for home defense. But if that reactionary gap is not there, you don't wanna give them anything. You don't wanna punch it out. You know, they can take your weapon. It's not gonna be a good day. So I would definitely recommend indexing that weapon. If you're coming around a corner, you could try it. You could also come around a corner, put it over your shoulder. This is another tool for your toolbox, so to speak. However, if you're shooting it over your shoulder, it's not gonna be very fun. So for the Shockwave, I'd recommend, if it's very, very tight, you feel like they might be just around the corner or what have you, you can index that weapon. So of course you would need to train doing this firing position or doing this hold. So if you're going to consider it, definitely practice. You don't want to do anything that you're not going to practice. So training will instill that in your mind, that it is a tool in your toolbox. You can use it if it's very confined to keep your reactionary gap. So I want you guys to see how easy it is to do it and how instinctive it can be and how effective it can be at close distances. So we'll try it out and we'll see how it works. All right guys, so here we have our very restricted terrain. So we'll use this tree as our doorway, so to speak. And then we have our baddies right here. We have this dude behind the small tree. And then we have this little bunny over here, sort of in that foliage back there. So as you can see, it's very close. I will be utilizing that other hold. I've seen the Shockwave in their restricted terrain, so I'm really not worried about it. We're mainly gonna be focusing on that second hold that I was showing you guys for the Shockwave. Okay, so if you guys couldn't tell, that was a very violent affair. We had pretty much first and second round effects. You can see this guy, he didn't really last too well. Clipped his ear a little bit, but then that second shot was pretty brutal. And this dude over here, well, he took it pretty much immediately, and yeah, that's pretty much what's left of him, right through the center. So it was very easy shots. These are both very instinctual shots, and they were very violent. It's okay if you don't necessarily get those first round impacts. So inside a structure, it's going to be very loud. So if you are expecting it and they are not, it's going to have a very massive psychological effect. So don't get me wrong guys, first round impacts are very good. You should train to get those first round impacts. However, you need to consider in a very confined structure such as a home or just a hallway in general or any room. Once that first round goes off and they're not expecting it, it's going to have a massive psychological effect. So it definitely gives you the advantage. It'll definitely trigger that fight or flight response in them. If the shot is close, you know, it could incapacitate them. Again, we want lethality, but I mean, with a position like this, when you're indexing, it's very easy to get those follow-on shots. It's very easy to control the recoil. It's very easy to make those fine adjustments when you need to. So you have to consider that. So if you practice this hold, you'll definitely get better at it. It'll definitely become muscle memory, and you'll be able to drive that firearm wherever you want. So it's just some things to consider. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Mossberg 590 Shockwave is a beast in those restricted close quarters environments. So I definitely feel comfortable utilizing this for home defense, and in general, just moving through an enclosure. It's very easy to move around. It's very effective. It holds more than enough. It holds 5 shells in the tube, 1 in the chamber. So, I mean, that's pretty good capacity for a weapon this small. Now, as far as the customizability, it's still pretty good. It is a Mossberg. My mag pull forearm did have to be a little bit, I had to use a Dremel to have it fit on, but it was pretty easy. It took about 30 minutes. The grip, I stippled it. So even with sweaty hands, because it's a hot day like today, I didn't have any woes that I might lose the weapon at all. G&G makes a sling mount that you can attach here, and I also got an Uncle Mike sling mount just in the back here on the grip. So It's a Mossberg. It's going to be customizable. I wouldn't have any issues with that if you're considering that. As opposed to this versus the TAC 14, I couldn't tell you. All I know is this is very effective in close quarters. It'll be very effective for home defense. And if you're considering buying for that, it's a big thumbs up for me. So yeah guys, that wraps it up. If you'd like to see anything specific with any of the upcoming videos, just let me know. If you want to do any tests with the Mossberg, I'm all about it. So feel free to comment, like and subscribe if you like the video, guys. I really appreciate it. So I'll keep the videos coming. I'll see you guys later.